Today I'm going to be talking to you and giving a brief overview of macromolecules. So if you remember from class, macro means large or big, so we're talking about big molecules. Those big molecules are also referred to as organic compounds, and you should remember that organic means anything that contains carbon. And all of these organic compounds are essential for life. That's why we're learning about them in biology. Okay, the first one that we're going to talk about is a carbohydrate. I'm sure you've heard of carbohydrate before. It's on the back of your nutrition facts. The function of carbohydrates is it's the main source of energy for organisms, life on Earth. Okay, the structure over here, this is the structure of a single subunit of a carbohydrate. So this is a monomer of a carbohydrate because it is just one. A monomer of a carbohydrate is called glucose. That's the most important molecule that you're going to learn about in biology class because glucose drives everything. Okay, so mono means one. Okay, poly means many. Hey, look, I see another word, poly. Okay, so this is a polymer or a polymer. Poly means many. Okay, it's also referred to as a polysaccharide. So we have this word saccharide now. Saccharide means sugar. So carbohydrates are sugars. Okay, they're breads. It's fruit sugar. It's actual sugar. Okay, it's table sugar if you're sucrose. All right. Disaccharide, di means two, saccharide means sugar. So sucrose is two sugars. And you can see here, 1, 2. So a sugar looks like this little pentagon shape here. The elements that make it up, I see a C, an H, and an O. That means we have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Okay, so carbohydrates are in pretty much everything. Actual sugars, fruits, milks. Milk has lactose. Another important thing, look at the ending of all of these words. They all end in OSE. So a good way to identify, a good easy way to identify a carbohydrate is that it ends in OSE. And that's the scientific word, ends in OSE. Obviously sugar does not end in OSE. Nor does carbohydrate, but glucose, sucrose, amylose, those all end in OSE. Okay? All right, next up we have lipids. Lipids are things like fats, oils, and waxes. Okay? Their function is our stored energy. So this is also the material that's used in all of our cell membranes. Okay? This is what they look like. This is called a triglyceride. Tri means 3. This glyceride implies the glycerol molecule. Okay, so tri-3. What do we have 3 of? We have 1, 2, 3. These are called fatty acid chains. So a triglyceride is made up of 3 fatty acid chains and a glycerol molecule. So that's a normal fatty acid, and we can have saturated, unsaturated, or polyunsaturated. And then over here, we have a phospholipid. Okay, and those are in the cell membrane. And you can see that we have some recurring vocabulary words. We have a polar head. Okay, polarity, just like water, so it likes water. So that is the hydrophilic head, and then the hydrophobic tails, or nonpolar. They don't mesh well with water, so they are on the inside, so they don't touch the water. They're scared of the water. All right, now let's look. What elements are we seeing? It's easier to look on the triglyceride because it's bigger. We have a C, an H, and an O. And nothing else. So the elements are CHO, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, just like carbohydrates. All right, proteins. Their function is to build muscles, build and repair cells. They work in the immune system. They also speed up chemical reactions. You can find proteins in things like peanuts, almonds, meat, any kind of nuts, fish, things like that. Tofu, there's some in tofu as well. All right, this is the structure of a protein right here. This is the monomer of the protein. Okay, the one building block. This is called an amino acid. All right, and let's look for the elements. What elements are in this amino acid? I have a C, an H, an O, and then this random R group. Although the R group is just a placeholder because that one changes all the time. So we have C, oh, and I forgot one, an N. CHON. So carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen are all found in proteins. And the interesting thing about proteins, so this is the primary structure, so that's what they look like, very basic. And then secondary, they get all twisted up. Tertiary, that's the third one, they get all twisted and folded again. And quaternary structure, they get twisted and folded some more. So these are very complex, larger structures. They have pretty complex functions as well. So here's your monomer is an amino acid, and your polymer is going to be your amino acid chain, or we can also call it a polypeptide, because proteins are held together by peptide bonds. So there's that word again. Poly means many. So many peptide bonds together gives us a protein. Monomer amino acid, polymer amino acid chain, or polypeptide, made up of elements CHON. All right, nucleic acids. A nucleic acid functions, its function is to store and transmit genetic information. So a nucleic acid is found in all living things because it is DNA, okay? It's DNA and RNA. And a way you can tell is because they both end in Na. Okay, deoxyribonucleic acid or ribonucleic acid. They are nucleic acids. Okay, here's your monomer of a nucleic acid, the one building block. All right, we call that a nucleotide. All right, and then the polymer is the actual nucleic acid, so either the DNA or the RNA. All right, now let's look and see what elements we have in there. I see an O, a P, a C, an H, and an N. C, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. And you can see there it says phosphate group. So nucleic acids store our genetic information. They also pass our genetic information along when our cells get replicated.